Hey guys, welcome back here. In last lecture I explained to you callback functions, and in this lecture I will talk about arrow functions. So let's start. Go to your coding editors, and first I must say that the arrow function is just a different way how you write your functions. And arrow functions are very related to callbacks. So see it on example. I will write here a new function. So after add car, let's create a function display custom name. Display custom name like this, and I just want to console log out something. So console log, and I am custom name function, just like this. All right, let's save it, and we can clean this little bit, so I can remove this debugger and some of these spaces. We can leave this comment here for a future reference. And now I want to call each iteration here this display custom name. So this display custom name, just like this. And remember, you need to call it on a this context of your class, because you specified your function inside of a class. Okay, so just like this, and I will write here inside debugger. Okay. And let's go to our index.js. And here, let's debug this code. Let's wait a little bit, and we are getting here inside. And now let's see it. This is undefined. So what is happening here? We are inside of our class here, and we don't have access to this. That's very weird, right? And I can tell you why it's happening. Because we are executing this code inside of this callback function, and this callback function is called from outside of this service. So this function is called here, you see, and this context is not specified here. This context belongs to this class here. So this can be a big issue, and I can show you how can you fix it. First fix would be, let's create here new variable, and let's call it self, and assign to it this. So I'm just assigning to self variable this context. And now let's call this function with a self and display custom name. Save it, and let's debug it. Just like this. Getting inside, and let's see it. Self. And here we have our this context, but on a self variable, and I can call now display custom name. So like this. I am custom name function. Amazing. So this works, but there is one more elegant solution. I will fast forward this, and let's remove this self from here, and let's keep this here, like this. And I will write here arrow function. And this can be a little bit weird for you in the start. So let's remove this function from here, like this, and I will write here arrow. And this is the same as before, but with this difference that the arrow function will bind this context of this class to inside of here. So let's save it, and let's go to index.js. And let's run it. And we are getting inside of our for each, and let's see our this context, and it's still undefined, but don't worry, I think this is an issue just of my IDE. When I will get inside, and yeah, I am here, and I will display I am custom name function. Amazing. So this works, and you can really see benefit of the arrow function. So when you are calling some function from outside of your this context, and you're providing callback where you're executing your functions on this context, this arrow function is very beneficial. Okay, so let's continue execution here. And yeah, we can remove debugger. Okay, and let's go back to our index.js. And I will show you one more thing. So let's write here two functions. One function normally, so function get name, and let's return just string with the name of a Philip. Just like this. And let's create a second function, and let's call it getName2. But this will be arrow function. So like this, const getName 2 equals arrow function, like this, and return David. Alright, perfect. And let's call these functions now. But instead of a console log, so we will see what we are getting. Console log, and get the name, like this. I will copy this, let's paste it here, and get the name too. And let's run it. And we can comment this line, so we will not get more console log here's. Okay, let's wait, and you can see Philip, David. So it works. Not a big difference here, but I will show you how can you simplify this function even more here. I can put it on one line, like this. When it's one liner, one expression here, it's a return automatically. So I can remove this return, and I can remove this curly bracket, and this. Let's save it, and let's run it. And you see, it is working as before. Okay, one more example. When you will call this function with some argument, with some value here, let's say name, and let's return name here. Name here, and also name here. And we want to return name. And we will call these functions with the names, Philip and a David as before. When there is just a one argument here, you can remove this bracket here, just like this. Okay, it is very weird maybe for you for the first time, but it is very simplified now. Now let's run it. And you can see Philip, David as before. Alright guys, so that should be it from arrow functions. I hope you understand them. You can see how simple they can be and how useful they can be when you're working with your callbacks. In the next lecture, I will introduce you to structurization. So guys, see you in the next lecture.